This one actually we just kind of touched on. Sarah shared one. I shared that link in the chat. Were there any other places? So the apps that Shane was talking about, the tribal college websites. Are there any others? Maybe even some schools that are really great at Indian Ed for All that would be good to reach out to.
Like I said, I think, the tribal colleges are a great place to start. I'm sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Billings actually has a really great website that I steal from all the time. They actually have their whole entire Indian Ed lesson plans and stuff like that too. So if you want to go to a district and what's actually happening in the classrooms, they're awesome.
I'm Googling right now to share the link.
Good.
Awesome. So that's JC's baby, huh, JC?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and then we've been obviously going back and redoing our links right now. I think there's some powwow stuff on there from this weekend. Wasn't mine. I'm just maintaining it through. But the Smithsonian is also a good resource. I think the University of Montana Bozeman, I think, is a good resource. I always try to go directly to the source, which is the tribe itself. I think that this is really important for teachers moving forward in bringing in cultural presenters and going to historical sites and to the reservation, and really that transformative thinking so that we can move into the social justice piece in the classroom. And critical literacy is another really important kind of component to what we have going on here. The resource guide, I think, is important. And not only just for Indian Ed, but everything, all cultures, and what is the text saying and what is the text not saying, I think is really, really important. And just authenticity as much as possible, making sure. I just looked at something on a website that was for the White Clay, and it said clearly in there, this isn't a traditional song. And I think it's just important that teachers are thinking critically about the resources that they're using. And I think it's almost a good place that you want to even start before even misconceptions. So if you don't want to put something in front of a kiddo that is going to perpetuate a stereotype or a bias. So resources are really important. The textbook's probably not going to do it for us. So.
No. Well, and I think go ahead,
I had
Sarah.
a good friend of mine. She texted me for Halloween in church. They live in a whole other state. And she's like, Sarah, what do I do? My child wants to dress up as an Indian for Halloween. How do I address this with him? I don't know how to talk about this stuff. And I said, well, I think one of the quickest things you could do is say which one, and then get to explore that whole realm. And so that was kind of fun to think about, getting really specific. As JC said, go directly to the tribe and get this very specific information and think about, how does it fit?
Well, another piece we could have in a misconception or any course that could be its own is how to contact the tribes, who to contact, what to ask, who are those great resources that would be willing to come. Just that place to start for teachers, I think, would be huge. Oh, you already have this? I don't know about it. My ignorance here. What is this one? Directory? Oh, do you have a link to that, Sarah? You can share in the chat box. Do you know where that lives?
I'll put it in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
And Sarah, I was just reminded of when you and Cole and I sat down once and we sort of did a walk through resources. Do you remember? And some of this was there that we sort of walked through, and so we could include this in whatever new hub course we have coming. So make sure to share that with me at some point if we can find it. I'm pretty sure you have it somewhere.
I'll have to add that into our math hub course as well, of course.
I know what we could do. There's one of Cole's courses is called Montana's Hidden Treasures, and it highlights resources from like the Montana Historical Society, Montana PBS, that teachers don't always see. It could be an Indian Ed for All hidden treasures. Like you have these great things like that document Sarah just showed me that I didn't even know about that highlights 4 or 5 like great hidden treasures or resources that teachers might get a copy of at a PD event but don't know what it is, how to use it. They just gets lost in their packet of all their other pieces of paper and they don't go back to it. So maybe that could be here our PLC is becoming, our hub brainstorming session, but that could be something useful too to share out, because I feel like you guys have so many great things that I don't know about. So I'm guessing a lot of other teachers don't know too.
Here you could put a little link on our webpage, Montana's Hidden Treasures, and then click on it, and Shane Doyle pops up.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Go to montanatribes.org and Shane pops up.
Yeah. I have been involved with a lot of stuff, but I have to say the thing that's been most rewarding personally for me outside of becoming a rock star, no, I'm just kidding, because of OPI, the ANZA curriculum obviously is awesome, and the PBS video that goes with that is great. But I think, the most impactful learning programs I've been involved with have been taking teachers to the reservations, even if it's just for a short trip, a day to meet with some people, and, just kind of that something just as simple as that can break down a lot of barriers, and also be a good impetus or a spark for teachers to create more ideas for lesson plans or stuff that they're interested in teaching about, because a lot of stuff comes out of those trips that you really can't plan. And so I just want to throw that out there, in the future we should continue to try and make sure we can give teachers the opportunity to have those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shane, you just gave me a good idea. You know how we get those, world traveling channels where people visit different countries and stuff? Let's go on the reservations. Here's Shane Doyle at Bryant, Montana. It's, wherever, Plenty Coos house.
That would be cool.
And, it's in like 7-10 minute segments, Little Bighorn Battlefield or, whatever. It's kind of neat to put a little reservation tour hub course together.
I'm totally in on that, so count me in.
Sign me up. That'd be a fun road trip.
Go to powwows or and I mean, it would be fun. That would be a really good idea, because just immersion in the culture is really it's going to transform thinking, and it's really hard. We've done some work here where we work with St. Ignatius and the preschool arts, and you can, it's really hard to to hold a stereotype when you're looking at a 3-year-old, and they're running around and they're playing on the, the jungle gym at Plenty Coos house. But, place-based education really is an untapped, I think there's some barriers for teachers. It's obviously tapped, but I think there's some barriers just in logistics, like teachers don't know what to do to get a bus, and funding can be, they don't know where to get the money, things like that. And it becomes, it's logistics, but I think helping teachers to get over that, and that's kind of what my job is, but I think it's really important for teachers to understand that it's really not that hard. And every tribal member I've ever approached is always really willing to help and wants you to ask questions and wants to involve the community as much as possible, because it's good for everybody. So place-based education. We could do a hub course on place-based education.
Well, Christy has somebody working on one. Oh, we've got somebody popped in, Mike's.
Oh, Joan Frankie coming to say hello.
That's awesome. Well, I think even just getting teachers like Shane, like all of you are saying, to reservations to see for themselves, because they might know it's important, but then being there and experiencing it, you feel it's important, and that makes your teaching seem so much more real to the students if you truly feel it and believe what you're saying. I think that will make a huge difference in the student buy-in.
And we know the benefit.
It would be a really, really good boon for economic development on reservations. Take teachers on a tribal casino tour, get all these different casinos, and stay there, and donate to the local
part.
Before
I know. I was thinking that.
I laugh at that, though. It's really, really interesting thinking about the Salish Kootenai tribe and what they did with their casinos as compared to others, and how they use learnings from other tribes to build it the way that they are and negotiate it within the 3 different tribes that are on that reservation. So, I joking around and Mike's joking around, but that's actually a really interesting place to start with talk about sovereignty and how tribes do things differently, and go into this misconception place and just blowing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Mike's pretty good at blowing stuff up. That's his forte.
I feel like we can also get like funding from like PBS or something like that for these videos. Like I think that they would be interested in just as much as we are in helping to create those videos and publish them. So maybe it's a little less money coming from OPI or, but we're finding an outside resource for that. I think would be awesome. And getting teachers like on a PIR day to get a school district around doing a travel and getting a bus would be so incredibly beneficial. And we know that home visits make such a huge difference in students' lives. And this is not necessarily wouldn't be a home visit because they're not necessarily going to the homes of where their students live, but maybe they are. So I think that either way, that would be an excellent experience.
I agree.
Yep.
It would be cool to hit up tribal colleges. Every reservation has a tribal college. See if a tribal college class would want to create like a 5-minute introduction to, Fort Peck. Or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Homegrown, and the people there are getting credit for putting something together to highlight, their culture and tribes.
My sticky note is not big enough to write all these ideas on, so.
Yeah. That's a great idea. It would be nice if we could create a program like that would be sustainable, and that we could just say, well, we'll get an update from each reservation, going forward, and we could just play it for the kids. It would be like the reservation update, or the news from Indian country.
Yeah.
There used to be a show called Indian Country Today or Indians in Progress or something like that when I was a kid. And it came on once a week. But just to be able to have something like that type of programming to introduce into the classrooms, Mike, that's a great idea. And then if you could, like I said, update it so that we keep it fresh. And, because there's always new things that come up and always stuff that's, needs to be talked about.